Hi there, and welcome to the Los Angeles Times Envelope's Emmy Contenders chat series. I'm Michael Ordoña. Our guest today has memorably appeared in Freaks and Geeks, ER, Brokeback Mountain, Green Book, and the Avengers series. Now she stars in the acclaimed Netflix series Dead to Me, recently renewed for season 2. The pride of Redwood City, Linda Cardellini.
That's great, I love that. I love that.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Really glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And congratulations on season 2.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's, I have to say, it's not really a surprise to people in my business because the critical acclaim for the show has been significant.
Well, that's good. I mean, I've been in a situation where the critical acclaim was pretty good and then we got canceled, so you never know.
Well, maybe that's one of the advantages of being sort of in the Netflix era. If a show's really well received, it tends to have life.
Yeah, so it's a different space for sure.
It's a different metric. So for the uninitiated, and I don't know why anybody would be uninitiated about your show by now, I'll give a very quick recap and you can tell me what I missed.
Okay.
All right. So Dead to Me is about a woman named Jen, played by Christina Applegate, who is coping with the death of her husband in a hit and run. In a grief group, she meets Judy, played by Linda Cardellini, and they become very, very close friends, but some secrets come out that keep changing the circumstances. And viewers, watch out, there will be some mild spoilers in this interview. So what did I miss? What's really important?
You did a great job. No, that was good. And it's hard with the spoilers because they're literally all over the place in the show. There's lots of little ones and then there's big ones, so which makes the show fun to watch, but sometimes hard to talk about.
Yeah, well, the primary spoiler happens at the end of the first episode.
Right. Which I was glad that happens in the first episode. Yeah. Because you think, when I was reading the script, I thought, well, in other shows, that would be the whole arc of the first season. Mm-hmm. But I loved that you know it from the beginning, which is fun for me too, because then it changes my performance as time goes on.
Oh yeah. Well, your character's dealing with that all along, and then we start to go, oh, that's why she was at the grief group. So what I've been telling everybody about this show, as I praise it to the heavens, is that it's a comedy, and it's a very serious drama, and it's a mystery, and it does all those things very well. Yeah,
Liz Feldman, who created it, she's amazing. She really created something that we had never really read before and never seen before, and so I'm really proud to be part of it.
I think that blurring of genres is something of a product of this time as well, that maybe the hunger for content has made it so that networks are less rigid about what a show has to be.
Right.
So they're letting shows be all these different things. Do you find that freeing or particularly interesting since you've been in a few other shows before?
I find it very freeing to, the first thing I did was I met with Liz about the show, who's the creator, Liz Feldman, and our producer, Jessica Elbaum, who I'd worked before, but I'd never met Liz before. But meeting and talking to Liz, she's such an incredibly brilliant, sweet, good person that I just wanted to jump on for whatever she was doing. And having worked with Netflix before on Bloodline, something that I knew was that they really let the creators follow their own vision. And to me, that's what's really fun. And so signing on to the show was also signing on to sort of following this new leader that I found in Liz Feldman.
As I was saying, this can be a really serious drama because it deals with grief, and it deals with grief in a very rich way, I think. I think the grief is not assumed, it's explored. So that's part of the kind of odd tone of the show, I think. How's that for you, dealing realistically with grief while knowing there are also comedic elements surrounding you?
Well, I think for me, having gone through certain periods of great grief or grief that really shocks you, you don't get through it unless you have a sense of humor. And I think that's something about life. Goes without, I think the saying of laughing at a funeral happens because people really truly do. And I have done it before, inappropriately so, but it's a release. And I think the idea of being able to get through the hardest thing, you have to have a certain way of looking at it from the outside and laughing about it. So grief and the comedy and tragedy sort of go together. I loved the way that this show explores grief because nobody grieves in the same way. But I think that in life, whenever something has sort of rocked my world and I've been hit with a grief that I didn't know was coming, you look at the other person, and if you can recognize the grief in the other person, there's some comfort in that. And I think that's what bonds these two women from the beginning, even though there's a lot more, there's a lot of layers underneath it for my character.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that bond you're talking about is the most interesting thing about the show. It has plot twists and quirky characters and stuff like that, but it's really their friendship that drives the show. We had Christina Applegate here before. She said terrible things about you. It was shocking.
She's the best. I'm so lucky that we were partners in this together, and just to be able to have her with me, it just made me better.
It was just a total love fest. Her talking about how much she loved you. And
yeah, we're so lucky. We really are. We had a great time working together. It just, from the beginning, it flowed very easily, and that's wonderful, especially with comedy and drama. I mean, you have to be in this sort of raw place and be able to trust each other, and then you also have to be able to make each other laugh somehow and surprise each other in that way. And we really just had a great time.
So the bonding was pretty immediate?
Bonding was pretty immediate, yeah, absolutely. We had never met before, even though we've both been in the business for a long time. We had never met before.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that you hadn't met before.
I know, I know.
But
she's more famous than me. You know, it's like she just. When I was on a show, it's now a hit, but 20 years ago it was canceled. So
well,
she probably went to better parties.
But it's a massive cult hit, and everybody.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing how things live on now.
Yeah. Back to Christina Applegate, though. Liz Feldman said she said Liz Feldman told her that Jen was essentially her. And you know her well, so...
Christina's a better hugger in real life.
Better hugger.
Jen doesn't like to hug. Christina likes to hug.
Less given to bouts of rage.
Right. No, Christina's amazing. She really is a wonderful person. She's really open and generous. And I'd been a fan. And so when I knew that she signed on, I thought, well, this has to be good, because I know that she's really picky about what she chooses. Mm-hmm. And it was just the idea of her and Liz and Jessica and us being able to be producers and work all together, and it's a dream job. And the role that I was given I've given so much to explore. And the thing I love too about it being these two women at the helm was that both of the characters were so well drawn. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times I'll get a script and there'll be two characters, or female characters, or any characters really, and you could sort of swap their lines, and one character could say that they're not as well defined, and the Jen and Judy really are well defined, but they also intersect in so many odd ways that you're not expecting, and that to me was really fun to play.
I definitely want to dive into Judy as you play her, but last thing about Jen, with Liz Feldman saying that and Christina Applegate kind of unable to explain it, do you understand why Liz would say that about Christina and Jen?
Well, Judy has no cynicism. I think there's a cynicism that, and Christina's humor, I think, brings about this sort of like dark cynicism, and I think so maybe that was the fit, but she's never been angry at me, so feel good about that.
She's never taken the golf club to your car?
No.
You've said before that is one of the essential qualities of Judy, that she's very open and non-cynical. Called yourself kind of cynical.
More than her, yeah. In fact, when I got the role, or when I got the script, I thought, wow, I don't know that I can do that. There seemed to be so much, and I didn't know how to approach everything that she was going through and not have it weigh me down. And so that was something that it was really fun to figure out, and it scared me a little bit about it. And I didn't want her to just be a weirdo. I wanted her to come from this real place. And so just trying to figure that out was something that was a challenge, and it was really fun. And I also hadn't been doing, the last few things I did were nothing near comedy. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I wasn't imagining switching gears and doing a comedy at that time, but the role was fantastic. And I love comedy anyways, it's how I started. So it was fun, but at first I was a little scared.
The way you described that right now just gave me a visual of her kind of ebullient nature, being like a balloon that's keeping her up when all these things are dragging her down.
Yeah. And on set sometimes, because it goes from, almost to hyper real to some absurd situations that Judy's involving herself in. And she goes from being incredibly loving to doing something that is so self-destructive and destructive for other people. And the idea of balancing all of that was so much fun. But at some points, you know, I would say to Liz, I said, can we do this several different ways? You know, maybe this, and we would do it, you know, 3 or 4 ways. Some ways where the audience knew that was in on it with Judy, a way where played it where it was completely straight, one that was more broad. And it was really fun to sort of play with all of that, because I knew that I would be doing, Judy's secrets, but I don't have her, they would go throughout the first season, and so to find a way to play it in different ways, and so it wasn't always didn't feel repetitive, was a fun challenge for me. And Liz was really great with helping me with that. And sometimes I would get a little bit darker than normal. She'd, we need a little bit we need a little bit more Judy Sunshine, and that's what we'd call it, Judy Sunshine, when, you know, Judy comes in and she doesn't engage in conflict very well at all. So anytime that somebody was yelling at me or anything, I had to find different ways to take it in and deflect it for somebody who doesn't engage in conflict, which is where we came up with the stuff. We actually, you know, Liz threw out an idea and we came up on set, James Marsden and I don't know if you've seen the parts where he will say, yell at me, and I say, don't yell at me, I'm sorry, don't do that, it's okay. Yeah. That whole dynamic was always underneath, but that was something that we were able to create on set that was really fun. And James and I just sort of practiced the timing of it in the hallway, and then it just became sort of a running thing with our characters, which I think is tiny detail that is very telling of the relationship that they had and the power that he has with her.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a tiny
That was a really
detail.
long answer.
No, that's a great answer. It's great. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a tiny detail. It seems like a very important part of their dynamic.
Yes, yes.
That says a hell of a lot about her. I was going to ask if Liz had given you any key guidance. Maybe that was it. Did she tell you?
She did. She gave us a lot, and she was there for you if you wanted as much or as little as she wanted to offer. She was always there, which I love. The thing about, I think, the shows that I've worked on that I've enjoyed the most in terms of long-running television shows is when the creator stays truly involved. And she's really involved in the best way, and she was so great about sharing. You know, a lot of stuff is personal to her that she's sharing in the show, and sharing that with me and with everybody. And also just, I mean, we had a great team of people working with us, so we felt incredibly supported, which is great, because reading the script I didn't realize how devastating it is all the way throughout. I mean, I realized the grief and the trauma of the first episode, but you know, when you go into something, you sort of have only seen the pilot. Mm-hmm. So I didn't understand how deep we would go into the grief. And I love how much it explores that, because I think you don't escape life without having some grief. So,
I do wonder in watching the show what these women would be like if this thing hadn't happened.
I know, I do too. I wonder what Judy would be like. I think the interesting thing to me is that Judy's only friend is Abe. So, and Steve doesn't want anything to do with her. So she, you know, I wonder what she would be like. I think she would still be grieving over the things that she's grieving over, and the loss of not being able to have a family and all of that she's searching for. She's so desperately searching for people to love and to love her in return. I think she would still be on that search, but I think her life would be a lot less heavy if she hadn't accidentally done what she'd done, which I think is an interesting topic in and of itself, the idea of being an accidental murderer.
Yeah. What? Spoiler alert. Oh, come on, if you're watching this,
Can we take that out?
It was in the first episode, that was months ago. Yeah, being an accidental murderer.
Yeah, and the weight of that, and how much she, in her mind, thinks that she's making amends for something that I don't think she'll ever be able to make amends for.
No, because she's a very soulful person.
Yeah, which is hilarious in a comedy.
Oh, yes. I accidentally killed somebody.
Yeah.
Because she has so much heart.
She does. She's pretty much all feeling.
I don't know if you've seen The Machinist.
No.
It's like 90s indie Christian Bale. It's like an adaptation of Crime and Punishment. Mm-hmm.
Although I can see something and completely forget about it. I have a good short-term memory, but a terrible long-term memory.
You were in that? No.
Yeah, it could have been.
I just thought of it because I was thinking about the Crime and Punishment angle of this, that's another portrait of somebody who has accidentally done something terrible.
Spoiler, now I'm not going to be able to see it.
Dang it.
Cross that off my Christian Bale list.
Oh, no, you'll want to see it because you know what he did to himself for that movie. You've heard.
Well, that's the
movie.
that one,
Yeah. So you're going to want to see that just because then you'll be inspired to do that to yourself for season 2 now. No, because that's another portrait of another way to respond to that devastation. But luckily, I think Judy is a much lighter person in a movie.
Yes, and I think at the heart of it too, she just really wants to fix things for Jen, but then she just loves her and ends up feeling at home with her. And the whole question of where is she at home?
Yeah, that relationship, that love relationship between two of you, as I say, I think it's the heart of the show, and it's really explored. It's really earned. We don't feel like we just have to accept that you two are friends. We see you two become friends and go through a lot of bad things and stay friends. It's lovely, frankly, to see.
Thanks. It's lovely to act, too. It really is. It's wonderful to have a female co-star, and it's also wonderful to explore that kind of friendship. I love the scene when her and I are sitting there waiting for the pregnancy test, and we grab hands, and it's just so physical, which I feel like, she's holding my face, and we're bumping heads, and it's something that I do with my friends that I actually don't know that I've done necessarily with a female friend on screen. And there's an intimacy about friendship that I think the show really captures well.
The ultimate truth about that, by the way, is pretty freaking sad, pretty heartbreaking, because we care about your character and we want things to turn out for her. So,
and I was hoping if people are rooting for her not to say what she needs to say, then we're in good shape, I think, in terms of the show. Then you've got people following the story, because you don't want people to sort of. And I also think that people can have different reactions. I think some people think Judy's really selfish. Some people think Judy is full of heart. Some people, I think that's what's excellent about it as well, and in terms of what Liz Feldman did. The morality there is a bit skewed, so you could take from it whatever you want.
That's something that I really like about the show, actually, that there are those different colors in it. I think she's done a wonderful job. Whoever's helping her write the show, they're doing a wonderful job of showing us why bad decisions are made. I mean, we're with you guys. When you get back together with your ex, we're all, that's a terrible idea, but I understand why she's doing it.
Right. Yeah, you kind of root for the bad decisions in a way where you want them to end, but they're a little bit fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I guess you could say that. Well, I mean, we're not rooting for you to go through that pain again, but the fact that we understand it, we want to see it all the way through.
Yeah, one of my favorite bad decisions is when I introduce her to Nick.
Why is that a bad decision? Because it'll...
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bad decisions, and I think it's the most Judy thing that you watch her actually in real time do, is she takes this completely, it's just so counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense for her to do what she's doing.
Right.
And she's only doing it to help Jen.
Yes.
And in turn dooming herself.
Yeah.
But happily so, because if it makes Jen happy, then she'll do it.
Yeah, gosh, I hadn't thought of it that way. That is a great bad decision.
Yeah, she's full of them.
Actually, that leads to one of the funniest scenes in the show, where you guys are in the car, and they're in the front seat, and they're talking about these things, and everything they say is making you more nervous.
Yeah. That was a fun scene to shoot. Because I'm just in a totally different reality in the back seat, while the two of them are really, playing detective, and it's just all closing in on me. Which I loved the twist that the script takes then, too, is that I think I'm just sick from the nervousness, and then it turns out I may be sick from something else. And that plays into her hopes and fears, too. So I love those little twists. And those were surprises along the way, as we would have read-throughs. We weren't surprised on set on the day, but just as we would have read-throughs, that's so much fun to play. All those things were so much fun.
He's wonderful, by the way. I hadn't seen him before. I think,
Brandon?
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, I think the secondary casting on the show is wonderful. Brandon, I wanted to cite Olivia Macklin and Kyung Sim.
Yeah. Pastor Wayne.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Have any of them, maybe all of them, have they blown you away? Have you had have any of them brought something to those scenes that surprised you?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody, every day. I mean, I think that's the wonderful thing about working on a show with great people. You learn from each other every single day. Brandon's voice is beautiful.
Wow, yeah, he can sing.
So easy to sit there and sort of lose yourself in watching him sing. It's just, and Tell Hopkins, come on, just watching her sing was a treat. Who doesn't want to watch that?
Yeah.
But that stuff was really fun. And the grief retreat, sort of us being outside of the, the normal shooting space that the soundstage or whatever, and being, at the hotel, and all that stuff was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was probably the funniest single episode so far? That one, or just watching you guys on the beach, of course.
Yeah, we had fun. That was one of the first long nights. And we sat on set, Christina and I, and we didn't, we were sat on the beach and we had blankets and hot water. They took really great care of us because it was cold. And girls, and I'm always cold. And we just sat there. I was like, do you guys want to go back to the trailer? You want to go? And we just sat there and we talked in between takes and hung out. And it was we already liked each other very much, but it was really a way of, falling in love with each other even more because we just got to sit there and hang out and pretend to smoke a joint.
Do you think that your real life closeness with her has affected the show, maybe affected the way the show's been written or developed?
I think it was always in there. And I think that, of course, the way that we feel about each other and the respect we have for each other and the love and the compassion, I think it definitely helped. I think the script had that friendship in there, but the idea that we could rely on each other and improv, and if I was down one day or if I was sick one day, she was right there lifting me up, and vice versa. If there was something that I could help with, if certain things that happen on set, you're just right there we were truly partners. So that part of it, I think, had to come from who we are as people too, in terms of that bond. But I think that I just go back to feeling very lucky that we got to do it together.
For some reason, what you were just saying made me think of the breast cancer angle in the show, which she apparently suggested.
Yeah.
And since you know her, was that affect the way you played those scenes? I mean, to give it some...
It's just, when you're listening to certain things, and certain things were real for us or for people around set in the moment, that those things are really real. And so when you sit there and you listen to things that come from a truly real place, or something that somebody is going through either in the past or something they're going through right now, you can't... The truth of it resonates within you. There's which we're always hoping with in acting and all that, but something like that, and knowing that comes from a place of experience makes it even more heartbreaking. And also, she's hopeful. I mean, she's doing really, really great.
Would you say that or can you think of a scene or a moment that maybe defines or characterizes Judy to you? Like you'd see that and go, that's Judy, that's who she is.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Judy has got several different sides. I mean, that Nick moment when she says, this is Nick, he's a detective. I think that is definitive of who she is. At the same time as you might think she's self-serving, she's actually throwing herself under the bus. Well, that's kind of not a great pun, but I didn't mean it like that. But she actually is doing that all the time to herself. And I actually feel like, well, it's a big spoiler, but I actually feel like when everything sort of comes out and she says, what do you want me to do? What can I do to make this better? And Jen tells her, you can, do I say it? Do I not say it?
Yeah. It's been a few months.
She does what she says. She tries to do exactly what Jen says. She really is trying in her mind to make it right. And unfortunately, her choices are way far off. I mean, nobody should have... the idea of sort of involving yourself in somebody's family after you've done what you've done is that's not a logical decision.
No. But again, it gets back to the way that they've so brilliantly written and constructed the show. We understand.
Yeah.
It's a terrible choice, but we understand.
Yeah, I love the way the show walks the line between being completely real and just slightly absurd, and the hilarity and then the trauma and the drama. It just is really fun to be able to play all that. It's as an actress, I think it's really one of the best roles I've been given, and I've been able to explore so much. It's really a delicious role.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to see the two of you together, the way that those two characters contrast. And
it doesn't work. Without Christina, without that partnership, it doesn't work. So I feel very, very lucky.
Do you, can you point to a favorite scene or moment in the first season so far?
In the first, well, I have so many. One of my favorite scenes that Christina and I got to sort of go off and improvise was after she breaks up with Steve for me. We had this whole talk about putting down the pipe, and then the pipe means this other thing, and we have this whole conversation, and that sort of came out of Liz will chime things from offset, and then we just went with it. I mean, improv for a really long time. And eventually you just start to try to make each other laugh, in the most sort of sedate way possible. And we had fun. I think that's maybe when I watched that, one of my favorite things.
Let me see if I can get that clip and load it. All right, you've answered all my questions about Dead to Me.
Okay.
I do have to throw one Avengers thing.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No, please. That tiny movie?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's heard of it. It's this little indie.
Yeah.
In
Help
which
them out, buy a ticket.
Weirdos in tights, battle our Lord and Master Thanos. Has your involvement in the franchise changed public reaction to you? Have you noticed that?
Yeah. There is it's very interesting. I've had such a long and I'm grateful, varied career that it never surprises me. It always surprises me, actually, I should say, like all the different things that people will call out. But I definitely hear that's Hawkeye's wife. Yeah, that's because everybody's seen the movie, so it's huge.
That's Velma.
Yeah, I do get that too.
You do?
Well, the funny thing about the Velma thing is I didn't get it for I don't know, that movie's maybe 20 years old, the first one, and I did for the first 15 years didn't really get that. I could stand next to the poster and a kid wouldn't know it was me, which was kind of what I was going for. That was my real hair in the first one. I cut it to that. I made sure they wanted it to be cuter than that. And I was like, nope, Velma has this hairdo. And then I think those kids have all grown up and realize that that's an actor playing that. That's not really a cartoon. And so I get recognized for it all of the time now because all the kids have grown up.
Are you involved in the Hawkeye series?
Not that I know of.
Hell, Feige.
But I'm kind of busy. I got the second season coming up with something else. So.
Yeah, Judy should show up in the Hawkeye series.
Oh God, could you imagine?
Or Hawkeye should show up in
Judy,
Dead to Me.
that's just Judy's superpower is accidentally killing people, but she kills only bad people.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she'll fit right in with Ronan.
She wears a really cool vintage outfit.
Yeah. There'll be a whole bunch of followers of hers. There'll be a cult. So you answer all of those questions.
Okay.
We're now going to hit you with a lightning round.
Oh God, I'm not so fast at a lightning round.
Yes, as we've told you, the lightning round is extremely serious.
Right. Okay.
And there are correct answers, so
Okay.
make sure you have the correct answers. All
That's right up my alley.
So, what's the last show you binge watched?
Fleabag. Amazing. She's fantastic.
Everything I've seen so many interviews with her. I'm fascinated with her. I've got to watch that freaking show.
Yeah, she's great. And I also watched Our Planet. That was my other one, my documentary one, and then.
Fair enough. Anything you want to say about Fleabag?
She's so incredibly talented. I just loved watching it. I just zipped right through it.
Okay. All right. That's my next. What is the worst job you've ever had?
Acting job
Or any job?
Let's see. Acting-wise, one of the first things I ever did was this. It was a non-union commercial for a soap, and I didn't know what I was doing at all, and they gave me, it was voiceover and print and on camera, and so I thought I'd hit the jackpot, but now I realize they just weren't paying me. They were just paying me one tiny, I got no money, but I didn't care. It was one of the first things I'd ever done. And I had to put the soap on my arm, and they had three girls. One was blonde, one was a brunette, one was a redhead, and we had to be ooh, soap, ah! And it was for Japan, so we were using English, very clipped English phrases, it's so cool, or, that kind of thing. Sure. And then we had to do the voiceover part, and they asked me to put the soap on my arm and make a noise. The translator said to make a noise like it feels cool at first, but then it's, like minty, and so they were rolling, and I'd never done anything. I saw these microphones, and I'm like, the worst sound was slightly pornographic, and they were like, God, no, you can't do that. So then they just had the other two girls do it.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. I'd love to see it.
I would like to see it too. I would love to see it.
Oh.
I had to pretend I was swimming, but they just laid me on a bench and we're going to take that out. I never saw it. I don't know what happened.
Gotta get a clip of that.
Yeah, and they didn't even use the real soap when they were filming the commercial. They used Johnson's & Johnson's because it foamed better. So they didn't even use the real soap in the commercial. That's why I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know what sound to make.
I'm sure with the real soap, you would have known exactly the right.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been perfect.
Of course.
The Oscar for a voiceover goes to
that's
this non-union actress who plucked a thing off the telephone pole.
That's a fantastic story. All right, what classic TV show do you wish you'd been on?
China Beach.
Ha!
I loved that show.
You'd be Dana Delaney's daughter.
I loved that show. She was great in that show. They were all great in that show. The acting was great. I loved it.
See it, right? I mean, Dana Delaney's daughter, right?
All right, I'll take it.
The very beautiful Dana Delaney. All right, and finally, is there a show that you wish would get more acclaim, maybe Emmy love than it's getting, past or present?
Past or present? I love Catherine O'Hara on Schitt's Creek. I think she's so great. I love Schitt's Creek. But I think they get a lot of love.
In Canada. But
Yeah.
maybe they will now.
Let's see. Which is also another comedy. That's okay. Let's see, what other show do I wish would get a lot of love in the past? I mean, China Beach, I wish that would have gotten more love, because it was short-lived.
It was. I think it...
Which also was John Wells' show, I think.
Was it John
Yeah,
Wells?
I think it was.
I think it got a lot of love when it came out, and then it kind of petered off.
Yeah, I remember
petered
it being
out.
canceled. I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was watching that while other people were watching 90210. I was
Catherine,
like, I gotta watch China Beach.
that's why you're awesome, though.
Well, I don't know. Thank you.
Catherine O'Hara in Schitt's Creek, the way she can pronounce any word, I mean,
Oh, she's just a genius. I love her.
she's fantastic. All right, you've answered all our questions. Thank you so much for coming by. It's
Thank
really a
you.
pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
To watch this entire interview or any other of our Emmy Contenders chats, please go to latimes.com.